you dropped an absolute recruiting bomb over the weekend. Blair bomb, maybe we can get that rolling here. You placed a crystal ball for USC to land the #1 player in the 2024 class. That's, of course, Dylan Raiola. Steve Wiltfong and Greg Biggins also adding picks for the Trojans shortly after. Blair, what prompted you to make this massive pick?
Emily, I've been leaning this way ever since Raiola backed off that Ohio State commitment in mid-December. I thought the Trojans were runners-up when Dylan Raiola made that first commitment, and I just have a hard time seeing Lincoln Riley, the QB whisperer, if we want to call him, lose out on Raiola not once, but then twice, and then also losing out on a guy like DJ Lagway. So I really like the Trojans in this race right now, and I like where Raiola feels he fits in with the Trojans.
All right, let's talk to another insider who put in a crystal ball pick for the top QB in 2024. It's our director of recruiting, Steve Wiltfong, back here on the show. Steve, what are you hearing coming out of Raiola's visit to SoCal that has you changing your pick from Georgia to now USC?
Well, I talked to Dylan Raiola following another visit to USC, and he said it was a blast. Every time I go back, I just love it more and more. And he got a chance to spend time in meetings with Coach Riley and see how he interacts with the whole team, but also getting an opportunity to hang out with Caleb Williams and pick his brain about USC and how he's handled everything was another thing that was exciting for him. But he got to watch a spring practice, hang out with Coach Riley, hang out with Caleb Williams, and I think just as he continues to go through his process here, and he's still trying to get back to Georgia. He's going to visit Nebraska at the end of March. That it's USC that's kind of taken the momentum. Georgia had the momentum coming out of the national championship game, and we'll see if they can get that back with another visit here. And Nebraska certainly doing all they can to get Dylan Raiola to come to Lincoln. But at this point, I like where USC stands in this recruitment.
Yeah, Steve, I think it's interesting because I was looking through the comments and the replies on that Twitter message, right? The post that went out from the 24/7 Sports account. A lot of fans are wondering, why would he go there? Malachi Nelson just signed with the Trojans, the 5-star quarterback from Southern California. But then you think about Dylan Raiola, you think about his makeup and his moxie, and I don't think he's shying away from any sort of competition. So I wouldn't expect that to be a hindrance for USC. He knows he has to compete wherever he goes. And that connection with Lincoln Riley is something that gives me a bit of confidence with that crystal ball prediction. I think that whatever he sees in what Riley can do for him as a developer, and then obviously with that offense, all the skill talent that they bring in, it's close to home in Arizona. They're building a new house there in the suburbs outside Phoenix. That would be a driving distance for his family as well. And he trains in Los Angeles at 3D QB out in Orange County. So those are all different layers that I think work in USC's favor. Right behind Dylan Raiola, Steve, is KJ Bolden in the rankings. Just took a visit to Arkansas. We know Georgia is in the mix. We know Ohio State is in the mix. But where do the Razorbacks fall in the mix for KJ Bolden?
Yeah, Clemson, Tennessee, Alabama, Florida State, some of the others that KJ Bolden's looking at strongly. But Arkansas is a place he's excited about because of some of the relationships that he has on that staff. Coach Woodson, who he built a great rapport with at Florida State, now the co-defensive coordinator at Arkansas. Travis Williams out there at Arkansas as well. Coach Pittman, some of the guys that he's really connected with. He had an amazing visit. He enjoyed everything that Arkansas has to offer. He got to spend some time around some of the current players. Arkansas has done a good job of recruiting the Atlanta area, so he had some familiarity with guys on the team, and he says he's looking forward to his next visit. But the culture and how genuine the people were in Fayetteville, it was a needle mover for him. But I think they're going to need to continue to move the needle in this recruitment, but it looks like he's going to give them every opportunity. But yeah, Georgia, Clemson, Ohio State are certainly the programs I'm still looking the hardest at in KJ Bolden's recruitment.
Man, I really wish we had some audio for that video of KJ Bolden at the mic. Looks like they're having a lot of fun there. So we got number 2 player, number 3, or number 1, number 2. That's how counting works. How about number 3 player in 2024? The aforementioned Williams Nwaneri checking out OU this weekend. Steve, what can you tell us about that visit?
Well, Oklahoma and Missouri are the places that he's been to the most. He's been to Norman 4 or 5 times now. So with that, he's built phenomenal relationships with Coach Bates, Coach Chavis, and obviously Coach Venables. And again, we've said this numerous times on the show. Oklahoma, they had the 129th ranked defense in the country last year. That is certainly nowhere near where Brent Venables wants to have his defense stand. in those rankings. And Oklahoma just recruited the number 4 recruiting class in the country, highlighted by a heck of a defensive haul. And they're right back at it here in 2024, trying to land the nation's best. And there's not a player higher on their board than Williams Nwaneri. And I think he sees the track record of Coach Venables and Coach Bates and what they did at Clemson with so many special defensive linemen. And he believes that they can get things rocking and rolling at Oklahoma in the same regard. So Oklahoma is definitely high on his list. They like the small soul mission program that Coach Venables has put into place there to help kids off the field. And Oklahoma's got a lot going for it in this recruitment, but he's going to go to LSU this weekend. He's got Georgia in 2 weeks. Texas A&M perhaps at the end of the month. He's been to Oregon a couple times. Dan Lanning is from the same city that Williams Nwaneri's from. Tennessee gave him a great visit in the spring. So there's a lot of competition in this recruitment, but I certainly think that Oklahoma is near the top of the list right now.
What a significant win that would be for the Sooners heading into the SEC move. And Steve, as you reported earlier today, Jadyn Davis, the number 2 quarterback in the 24 class, has scheduled a visit to Michigan for later in the month. He has been to Michigan quite a few times. He loves Ann Arbor. But what is the Davis family looking for in this next trip up to Michigan?
Yeah, thanks, Blair. He's been to Michigan 4 times at least, went to a couple games in the fall, made a couple visits last summer. This will be his first time going up there in a spring setting where they're going to get to take not only a spring practice, but they're going to get to see a scrimmage as well. They'll spend 2 more days up there. And they've started building a rapport with new Michigan quarterbacks coach Kurt Campbell, who has the blessing of incumbent J.J. McCarthy. The Jadyn Davis family and the McCarthy family have gotten so close, but it's an opportunity for them to get up there around Coach Campbell and get to know him better as well. So get to see some very competitive things on the field and see the development from the Michigan program, and then also get to know Coach Campbell a little bit better are the big takeaways there as Michigan battles Ohio State, Tennessee, Clemson, North Carolina, Florida State, to name a few.
All right, we have 115 people watching and just 37 likes. I would like that ratio to get a little bit better. Steve, can you remind the people what that like button looks like? Like this, like a thumbs up. He's doing a thumbs up. So hit that like button, please. We'd love to get a few more likes. 100 is the goal for today. The goal of this segment, though, is to move to the 2025 class. The top quarterback, Bryce Underwood, was at LSU this weekend. The Tigers making, of course, a strong push for his services. Steve, how'd that visit go?
Oh, it was amazing for the family. His father, Jaquan, told me that it was like a second home. They loved it. I asked what they did. They said, what didn't we do? They spent so much time on campus, including attending a class and talking to a professor there. But Joe Sloan, LSU's quarterbacks coach, really leading the charge here. And they had a very detailed recruiting visit set for the Underwood, which included time with the nutritionist, time with their strength and conditioning program. Obviously, they got some one-on-one opportunity with Brian Kelly. They saw the facilities and maneuvered around campus. And this was a visit that they were looking forward to for a long time. And I think LSU knocked it out of the park with him, but it's still early in his process. He's interested in several programs. Ohio State is next for a return visit after a great visit in the winter. He's going to get up to Ohio State and see the Buckeyes for a spring practice. I think he sees a lot of himself in C.J. Stroud and the way the Buckeyes developed. C.J. is very exciting to him. Michigan State, he's been to several games there. Penn State gave the Underwoods a great visit in the winter as well. So a lot of schools in the mix here. USC, another one that I know he's intrigued by, but LSU certainly crushed it this weekend with Bryce Underwood and his family. And I don't think that'll be the last time we'll see him on that SEC program's campus.
Another monumental quarterback target for another big blue blood program nationally. And Steve, Purdue is the school maybe we don't talk about enough, but they've been building a really good class early on. They have some momentum and inside the top 30 nationally in recruiting and just picked up a commitment from quarterback Marcos Davila. What can you tell us about the buzz in West Lafayette?
Yeah, over 3,000 yards passing for him last year, 36 touchdowns. He's played a lot of football for Midland Legacy down there in the Lone Star State. He's thrown 62 touchdowns over the last 2 seasons. At one point was committed to TCU, but reopened the process. Him and Graham Harrell are extremely tight. Seth Dagey over there. Him and Graham Harrell have done great jobs together on the trail before, and Purdue's put together a really good staff of strong recruiters, in my opinion, and to go out and land Marcos Davila, who's one of the best throwers of the football in the class, one of the most talented throwers of the football in the class, I think is a big recruiting win for Ryan Walters and company as they try and springboard this program to another level. And they want to add some playmakers around them. And two of the best receivers in the country also reside in the Hoosier State, Mylan Graham and Bronte Johnson, and both of them were on campus this weekend. And I talked to all three of these guys, and all three of them mentioned the opportunity that they got to hang out together and start building a relationship. And both Mylan and Bronte Johnson had over 1,000 yards receiving as juniors, and both have national offer lists. But we've seen Purdue win big-time recruiting battles for in-state guys in the past, and at the receiver position, David Bell, most notably recently choosing Purdue over Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan, and Notre Dame to name some of his offer lists. So Mylan Graham, Bronte Johnson, they both enjoyed their time in West Lafayette over the weekend. And Mylan Graham's going to visit Ohio State next. Georgia's a program in the mix for him, and Bronte Johnson, Notre Dame, Tennessee, I believe, are some of the others that he's looking at. But Purdue is definitely in the thick of it with those guys led by Corey Patterson's efforts on the trail. And this could be a real exciting recruiting class for Ryan Walters in Purdue here in year one.
Man, we talked about him already, but star-studded visits really at campuses across the country this past weekend. And of course, I mean, look no further than Alabama. What are the highlights that we need to know about from Tuscaloosa?
Well, they had a lot of blue chippers on campus there, as you said, star-studded. Just some guys to highlight from what was a big recruiting weekend at Alabama as they pursue what would be the 11th #1 ranked class of the Nick Saban era. But 24/7 Sports composite 5-star receiver Ryan Wingo was visiting for the first time. He has been building a strong relationship with the staff, was excited to get there, and the returns from him and his family were that it was awesome. And this is a young man that's visited just about every powerhouse program in the country except for Georgia, which he's going to visit soon. And Alabama, it's not a place that you can really compare to others, talking to the Wingos. And Ryan himself talked about joining a program that's trying to build back up into a championship winner again, and that excites him. Jordan Ross and Jeremiah Beeman are two of the most coveted defensive linemen in the country from in-state. And Jordan Ross talked particularly about his time spent with the players on Alabama's team and their message to him about how playing for the Crimson Tide has changed their lives. That really fires him up about the program. And then Jeremiah Beeman, getting around the other recruits and bonding with them, he really enjoyed that and sees the potential of Alabama being good for years to come because of that. Tight end Jadyn Riddell from Missouri is one of the most coveted players in the country at the position. He's got a really good relationship with Coach Cox and Coach Roach over there. And this was a return trip for him and Alabama's development of players to the NFL. He said it was one of his best visits yet. And I think Alabama is a major player for one of the most sought after tight ends in the country. And then if you kind of turn the page to 2025, because they have their quarterback committed in 2024 and Julian Sain, you got new offensive coordinator Tommy Rees on campus, and they offered one of the highest rated players at the position in 2025, and Antoine Hill out of Warner Robins, Houston County there. And he said he had a great experience there, got to meet the new coaches, starting to build a relationship with them, talked some ball with Tommy Rees, of course, highlighted the culture there and talked about Coach Saban's presence and coaching style and the track record of first-round quarterbacks that they've had under Coach Saban. It sounds like Alabama is going to be a major player for one of the most sought-after quarterbacks in SEC country. So Alabama, it's more about these visit weekends, Emily and Blair, are more about them getting guys to campus and feeling them out, making sure they have the right makeup to play at Alabama, and then they start deciding who they want.
Alabama in play for major targets. I mean, how many times have we heard that statement before? Sounds like an exciting weekend in Tuscaloosa. Steve, thank you so much.